Mom's Girls, we're a sketch comedy troupe, which basically means we're kind of like a mixture of theater and stand-up comedy and movement and all sorts of things put together, but our main goal is to make people laugh and be silly.
Yeah, when we're trying to think of an idea or like think of something funny, something that I find that I like try to pay attention to in my day-to-day life is the idea of like that like excruciating awkwardness and then taking that and putting that like exquisite like conflict and grossness on stage. That is comedy. Like that like awkwardness brought to life. I get a lot of inspiration by the moments in real life where I'm like, oh, that's terrible. Like that's a sketch idea to me.
In Newfoundland, you do need to have some element in your show about Newfoundland culture or Newfoundland comedy because people relate.
When I think about what's unique about comedy here, it's because it's a physical island. So that like separateness creates its own sense of comedy. The comedy here is really strong and really unique. And I think it's because it was a have-not place and separated from other places. And so for me, when I think of Newfoundland comedy, I think it's an actual export because it almost had to be.
Yeah, and so it does feel like we're a part of a tradition, or we want to be at least, I guess. And so we're no doubt influenced by the comedy that has come before us. And I think all Newfoundlanders sort of have that funny bone.
Yeah, there's like a darkness about living in a have-not place and living on an island that I think is really beneficial when it comes to comedy, because like your sad Nan is funny.
Yes.
You know? Yeah. And she is not saying funny things. Like she is like actually in despair. But you're like, my God, get a load of Nan. Like, you know, like there's like a humor, there's like a real true dark humor. And
I'd just like to touch on the point of like forming. In the comedy community here, it is so masculine, and which is fine, but sometimes you kind of are like, God, I would love to play a character that isn't a mom or a sister or the girl next door. With Mom's Girls, we all have a really, really special place where we can be a full type of character, like a full range, whatever you want to be. If Andy's like, I want to be the boss, and I'm like, well, you're the boss, baby.
right. Yep.
And it's like creating a safe space for people to experiment with that kind of characteristic exploration.
Yes, it feels awesome. It feels so good that I always think if I wasn't in Mom's Girls, I'd want to be in Mom's Girls so bad.
Yeah,
like I
so
always
cute.
think that. Like I'm like.
There you go. So I think if you had asked us this question a year ago, we probably would have said, we want to be on TV. But this spring, we actually did film a TV show, like a little mini series called Tales from the Floor-Drove, and it'll be on Bell 5 soon. So I think a goal that we all have is I don't know about a goal, a dream that we all have is we would love to like have a sketch TV show, I think another goal that we have is to travel more like, as a troupe and like do shows in other parts of the world. That's something we talk about all the time, and it's just been impossible
Because of the pandemic.
Yeah. I dream about going to Edinburgh and doing the Edinburgh Fringe. And like maybe
cool.
7 people would come see our show, but like it would be so cool.
Yeah. My advice for anyone who is an actor, especially if you're someone who's been typically typecast or kind of squished into roles that you feel like you're seeing come up over and over again, is that you have a incredibly large spectrum within you of characters that you can play, and the industry's gonna try to tell you that like there's only a little tiny, like there's like a couple things you can do well. It's actually not true, because you just have to tap into your imagination and your empathy, and you can basically play any role, and that's what sketch comedy has taught me.
When I sit down to write, sometimes it's super, super hard, and sometimes I don't want to do it. And so my piece of advice to people who want to be writers or want to improve their writing is you have to frame it as fun as much as you can. You have to it is work, you are working, but you have to sort of be like, I want to do this, this is fun.
You have to find your people and treasure them. When you find collaborators and you click, sometimes things are gonna get hard after that. And it's like a relationship, you gotta work to make it work, I think. But if you find your people and you know you click with them, find a way to make it work, and it will.
My advice to people is call yourself a performer or a comedian. Like, if you want to be a comedian, say that you're a comedian. Every time I lead in, I'm like, I am a comedian. And every time I say it, it just gives me more power to prove that to others, because I know it to myself. But whatever you're trying to accomplish in theater or whatever, just give yourself that title, because once you get used to it, then you feel more comfortable doing it.
In every possible way, my undergrad is the reason that my life is where it is right now. Like, for sure, it would never have gone this way if not. And it's like my lifelong friends now were the faculty that taught me, you know, when I was 18.
In my current job, which is a government job, I have used all of the skills in film editing, in like shooting video, in performance, radio, like everything I use. Like, it was so hands-on that it really helped with a communication standpoint. It is honestly the best thing I did was take that diploma.
The thing that I take away, like thinking about my time at MUN, is the connections that I made. So many of my collaborators and colleagues I met in those courses. I think that is like the most important thing about that diploma, and I think it might be called the Diploma in Stage and Screen now, but that was my into the theater community.